Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of the I'm Always Serious News' Sunday paper program. In this week's news, black widows are threatening Sochi. Obama's going to meet the Pope in March, so says the NSA. Mac is 30, not so big. Winter wonderland in the Northeast corridor, just like Michael Bolton predicted, all holiday season long. Super Bowl sales at a record high. And that's just the food and beverage. Cracker, please. And the world's going cracker crazy as civil war and disobedience reign. You can get these stories and more tonight with Tim, Eli and his Stone Memoirs, Mark Lipo with some dating advice, Tony Viejo will give us his misled thoughts, and our own John Rice is back for the first time since November, actually, folks, from his accident. And he's got advice on plenty of things after coming that close. And of course, our own Dave Morrow with his Mystic Minute. These stories and more on tonight's edition of I'm Only Serious News' Sunday paper program.
It's the I'm Only Serious News Network with Dan Mahan, Dave Morrow, Tony Viejo, Tim Eli, Mark Lipo, and John Rice.
Well, folks, the Sochi Olympics are set to get underway, and security is a big concern. There appears to be terrorist plots being planned to strike at the Olympics. The first one uncovered was the Olympic gear being worn by the U.S. athletes themselves. Those hideous outfits, folks, are so awful looking, even the U.S. government is warning the Olympians not to wear the sweaters outside the Olympic ceremonies in fear of being attacked. In fact, the LGBT community has issued its own warnings to the U.S. team that they too will beat them up for wearing them in public if they see them. Speaking of that, the Russian commies, who are hosting the Olympics and have already pissed off the gay community with their gay laws, have now labeled possible female suicide bombers as black widows. Cracker, please. That's touching off a storm now with the African-American community around the world. The U.S., folks, will be stationing 2 warships in the there we go again, in the African Sea, formerly known as the Black Sea, for additional support. Speaking of waterways, the Panama Canal project is nearing completion, which will double its size to accommodate new and larger cargo ships. The timing of the work is directly linked to the opening of the U.S. market from some medicinal Panamanian red. Can't wait for that to get back. In Haiti, Sean Penn's humanitarian group, called JP Haitian Relief Organization, is breaking up the last homeless camp because it's located on a country club golf course. Yeah, they're not actually moving them anywhere because there's no place for these people to go. But what they are doing is providing each with a $500 stipend for rent, $40 for transportation, and $110 to get the hell out of here, or as they call it, to ease the move. Meanwhile, Penn's group plans on selling new club memberships very soon. Very soon. The European Space Agency reawakened their comet-chasing space probe called Rosetta after 3 years of no contact to save energy during the flight. The Rosetta sent out a Hello World tweets in over 1,000 different languages. However, none in Yiddish or Hebrew. Go figure, the Nazis are still there. Damn Nazis. And in Brazil, workers have begun repairing the famous statue of Jesus, or as we call him up here, Jesus, in the above Rio de Janeiro. It had lost 2 fingers and an ear during a recent lightning storms. However, the workers have been slowed by their inability to keep the ear affixed to the statue using spit and mud. Go figure. Doesn't work that way, fellas. Speaking of religion, Obama says he's to meet with a real pope when he comes to visit the USA this spring. Apparently the NSA told him that Pope Ernie told Pope Bert that during a phone conversation in the Vatican. So we haven't stopped all our spying yet. And Catholics in Chicago were stunned and shocked to find out that the leaders of their archdiocese helped to hide the sexual abuse of their children and to hide pedophile priests who committed the crimes. Cracker, please. Welcome to the new millennium there, Chicago. My lord. And Macintosh, the first mass-marketed personal computers, is 30 years old this year. And if you're still using one, well, you won't be watching this program anyway, because you couldn't get on the internet with one of them hunks of shit. But still, Apple computers, iPhones, iPads, and IOMIs are the leaders in the technological fields in which they serve. So happy birthday to you, Apple. Speaking of the internet, Bitcoins are now being accepted by Overstock.com, which we're guessing won't be overstocked for long, using that cheap type of fucking money. Well, folks, tonight we get to welcome back one of our very own. He was last seen with us back in November of 2013 before a very serious motorcycle accident, and his near-death experience has given him a view on life and some advice that he'd like to share with us. Welcome back, John Rice.
Thanks, Dan. Yeah, everyone says, I was in a bad motorcycle accident and went to Temple Hospital. But the true story is I went across the world sandcastle building. Difficult business, really. Got hurt. Especially going up through China. Difficult business. Built an Iron Man suit out of sand. It's possible, people. It's possible. But I do want to if you guys get hurt in the Philadelphia region and you need to go to the hospital, first of all, call a cab. It's cheaper than an ambulance. Second of all, try not to go to Temple. The food, not all that great. Good Chinese food across the street, though.
Oh, nice.
Very good. Yes. And if you want to lose weight, the best way to do it is get in a motorcycle accident, go into a coma for 7 weeks. You'll lose a lot of weight. For those of you that want to quit smoking, don't do the gum, don't do the patch. Get in a motorcycle accident, go into a coma for 7 weeks. You quit smoking. And for those of you that need some of that real dating advice on how to get rid of a loved one that you don't want to talk to anymore, or a girlfriend that you're just getting sick of, or even a wife or a dog, get in a motorcycle accident, go into a coma for 7 weeks. No worries. Go free. Thanks, Dan. Back to you.
Thank you, John. Thank you, John. And we see the medication's working well. Yes. You know how to get that meds, folks? You guessed it. Get in a motorcycle accident and be in coma for 7 weeks. No doubt about it. Well, locally, speaking of drugs and accidents, our very own Councilman Kenny has now said tickets should be suitable for when people get pulled over with pot here in the city of Philadelphia. As long as you have anything under a kilo, basically, you're just going to get written up for it. Also, with all the problems we're having with the winter wonderland of winter storms and what do they call those coming down? The vortex, the Arctic vortex. SEPTA has been plagued by frozen doors on many of their subway and bus lines, causing many delays and angry passengers. So for those of you who are waiting for your bus, if you don't mind driving one with the door open, they'll be on time. In some entertainment news, turns out Snoop Dogg was in Melbourne, Australia, when a smoke alarm, folks, went off in his room. What do you think that was from? Yeah. The guys who showed up there all ended up getting selfies with Snoop, the fireman, and Instagrammed it. Yeah, Snoop Dogg in Australia sets off a smoke alarm. Also, that punk of a kid from Canada, Justin Bieber, was arrested recently for flying around on the streets of Miami, was it? Miami? Son of a bitch. Yeah. And apparently he's dating Miley Cyrus now because they both look alike. That's what we're looking at here. Yeah, that gets a street credit up. Also in entertainment, there's a new movie out called Survival One? The Survivor Story with Mark Wahlberg. Anyway, there's a nice article written on in this week's Inquirer by Michael Smerconish, and Lone Survivor it's called. Apparently the movie's pretty much online with the way it went down for these guys, and not that I have seen it, but I've seen trailers for it, and that's usually what I watch is the trailers, you know what I mean? So based on that, go see it, it's a good movie. Folks, tonight we have some more advice on things you can do about dating from our very own Mark Lepo. Mark?
Dating advice for single men. I can sum it up in one word. Don't. Stay home. I'm single, never been married. My mother once told me, people that live alone and never been married means nobody loves you. Cheers, Mom. Sure, I used to juggle multiple women, but their constant screaming and yelling when I threw them up in the air just drove me crazy. Don't be a player. Online dating, sure, 1 in 5 people do meet somebody, but 99% of them get divorced or break up. 4 out of 5 don't meet anybody. But, women are a lot like parking spaces in today's world. All the good ones are taken, the rest are handicapped and disabled. Sure, there are some good ones out there. You may want to try a free online dating website like Plenty of Fish and try to catch one of those, but most people aren't fishermen or fisherwomen, and the chances of catching a bottom fish are very good. Women are a lot like the characters on The Wizard of Oz. Some don't have hearts, some don't have brains, some don't have courage, and some don't have homes. Met one woman, actually went dumpster diving. It was then I realized that she was white trash. I try to meet a woman who's like the television show, Bold and Beautiful, Young and Restless, and American Idol. But I keep meeting desperate housewives whose faces need extreme makeovers. Yeah, they want to be friends, play the dating game, hopefully there'll be a love connection, and be married with children. I just want to have a current affair and check out their inside edition. Why haven't I been married? I don't know. I like to shop at Goodwill on one hand, which basically means I have a pinball machine with one flipper, a teddy bear with no head, a pool table that slumps in the middle so every shot has to be into the side pocket, and a doll with no arm for my niece, not for myself. I met one woman who lived in Canada, and I have great respect for the people of Canada. I think they're good people. This one woman, met her on a cruise ship. Flew up to Canada. She wanted to go clubbing. Ended up bringing home 2 dead seals. It's a whole new world up there. She had a brother who actually murdered a few people, buried them, and never said anything to anybody. Am I a good picker? I don't think so. Everybody has a story, but you want to put your best foot forward. And if you got 2 good feet, then put 2 good feet forward. But in the long run, it's a personal decision to date. There are good eggs out there, but a lot of them are cracked. So give it your best. Give it a shot. If it works out, fantastic. If not, you can always run away and join a convent and hang out with the nuns. That's my time. Am I joking? No, I'm only serious. Back to you, Dan.
In sporting news, folks, the Super Bowl, by the time you see this, will have been underway. As you know, Denver's been listed as the home team, since most people will be mile high at the game. That's right, folks. This is the first Super Bowl where both teams are representing areas where marijuana has become legalized. Yes. And the vendors in New York are happy with that, as fans flock in from Denver and from Seattle and get their smoke on. Food sales have never been higher. Never been higher. And the Pro Bowl happened tonight. Nick Foles was in there, threw for 2 touchdowns. That's right. I'm guessing. Shady McCoy rushed for another one. And, of course, Deshaun Jackson was on the end of one of them touchdown throws. If he's on Foles' team, which I don't know. Because they're all on different teams this year. You believe that crap? Yeah. No more same conference. What the hell's the NFL doing? First you turn it into a touch league, and now you turn it into who knows what, schoolyard crap. It's a damn shame. But that's where we're at with that. And of course, if you're a Flyers fan out there, what the hell's wrong with you? Get back on the medication. The Flyers are killing us this year. They're in the midst of a 5-game losing streak, and by the time you see this, it'll be the Olympic break. And I think we got 4 more games till then, so we'll be on a 9-game losing streak. I'm pretty sure. And Sixers news, who gives a damn? Yeah. That's how we feel, Mr. Josh Harris, until you sell the damn Jersey Devils. You backstabber. Eagles news, as we said, Nick Foles, LaShawn McCoy, Deshaun Jackson all shined in this year's Pro Bowl game, fantasy football. And speaking of memories, folks, coming up next is our very own Tim Eli, who's going to be giving us his Stone Memoirs of Tim Eli. Tim? Thank you, Tim. And for a quick word on how to avoid getting stoned, if you want to quit, what do you say, Rice?
Get in a motorcycle accident. It's only coming for 7 weeks.
That's
Totally legal.
totally legal. But make sure you got your Obamacare lined up first. It could get quite expensive. Okay, next up, folks. Speaking of marijuana and mile highs, it's time for Dave Morrow's Mystic Minute. You're up, Dave.
I resent that accusation, Mr. Mahan. I have worked tirelessly, mostly drug-free, at this I'm Only Serious news station for my entire course of employment. Now, for the part where I was just getting interviewed, like that's my private time. You can't infringe
Amen.
on that.
My bad, as they say.
Hello, and welcome to the Mystic Minute. I am your host, Dave Morrow, Dave Ron Morrow, black belt in psychic jujitsu, paranormal investigative journalist, and unpublished author extraordinaire. Recently, it has come to my attention that certain members of the hacker community have been accessing the new line of Amazon delivery drones, but have been outfitting them to serve as sort of mini predator drones. See, members of the Yakuza and Russian mob are currently competing with each other through the use of these drones for their black market activities.
That was in the movie Castaway, too, I think.
That's what sunk the ship.
Yeah. Well, it was a plane, but same difference. It still hit the water.
No, the Russians found him. Remember?
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
That ship sank because
probably
they knew
did.
too much.
Yeah.
Because it was the Russian mob. Do you see where this is going?
See, that's why I had to listen to your Mystic Minute, because you're way ahead of me on that one.
No ribs here.
The Yakuza. The Yakuza are not to be trifled with. They're working on a new line of cyborg. Apparently they're willing to treat victims of the Russian drug crocodilia, which causes a certain rotting of the skin and decomposition
Nasty.
upon the point of injection. They're willing to offer cyborg replacement parts in order for enlisting to serve in the battle against the Russians.
Sounds like the Bionic Man I used to watch.
I myself have never tried crocodilia. Cyborg parts don't sound too bad. Anyway, this has been the Mystic Minute. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dave. Very enlightening. In fact, you know, there is a way to escape from the Russians, folks, if you need to. John Rice will tell you. John.
Get into a motorcycle accident, go into a coma for 7 weeks. Can't escape anything.
That is one good advice there, my friends. You can't go wrong with that. Even the Russians won't find you at Temple University Hospital, because they can't stand the food either. Well, folks, we got one more segment for you tonight. Our very own Tony Viejo's Misled Thoughts. And tonight's subject, I believe, is some of the turmoil around the world, especially there in the Ukraine. Speaking of Russia. Tony.
Thanks, Dan. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Justin Bieber has gone to jail. They finally got the Biebs for doing stuff I did when I was 19. Really? That's what they're going after him for. But more importantly, that's what's in the headline now. That's what's big in the news. When the Ukraine is in complete civil unrest in Kiev. At least I was really bad at geography and didn't pay that much attention to social studies, so I assume that's the capital, and I assume that's how you pronounce it. I don't know. But it's very interesting what's going on over there. Their president's like implementing all these anti-protesting laws where you get locked up for years, very, very state-oriented, very like communist-oriented. And sure enough, who's backing them up? The Russians. That's right. Vladimir Putin is offering to buy out some of their debt and sell them Russian gas at a cheap rate. Meanwhile, the populace there wants to move towards the UN kind of more of a democratic system, which would help bring more jobs to the Ukraine and help better off the Ukrainian economy. I really don't know much about this. I tried to spend the whole day reading about this, and I read a lot about the Ukrainian history, and this place has always been in civil unrest. So maybe that's why it's not newsworthy. But you should check it out. There's a lot of things going on in the world other than the Biebs getting arrested, even though that is a thing that's going on right now. There's a lot of other things going on right now. There's children starving in Africa. You see the guy, the big fat white guy walking around in Africa asking you to send 27 cents a day to feed these kids. Dude, why don't you like bring a sandwich with you and give it to the kid? You're there. Why do I got to give you 27 cents? I mean, I understand it's an ongoing process. You need people to help out, but show me you giving him food. Please. Let me think you're giving him food. I don't see you giving that kid food, dude. Why don't you be giving that kid food? Why? It's like the dogs. The Sarah McLachlan music. I can't take that commercial. They just show up. And they're crying. They're sad. That the kitten's crying and he has a broken arm. What's going on in the world? I don't know. But seriously, tune into the news, check out what's going on in the world, and make yourself happy, and learn about the plight that's going on in the rest of the world. Especially when you're at the end of your rope. It helps out knowing, hey, there's whole civilizations killing each other just to have freedom. And we kind of have that going on over here right now. But they're fighting in the streets to protect the last little bit of freedom that we have, and you're watching this. You're doing the right thing, America. And the rest of the world, hey, fight for anarchy. Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Tony. You know, there is a way, might as well one last time to tell you all, on how you can go about not keeping up with the news. And we're going to find out from our very own John Rice. John, how might you do that?
Go competitive sandcastle building in another country. Or get in a motorcycle accident and go into a coma for 7 weeks. Just saying.
That's one way to miss the news. Well, if you watch this, it means you haven't missed this week's news, and we thank you for it. For everybody involved tonight, John, welcome back.
Thanks.
To Tim, to Rick, to Dave, to Tony, Mark, and myself, thank you all very much, and here's to hoping that Darren wins his first Win It award. Is that what it's called? Without. My bad.
How I like my
There goes our chances, fellas. Thank you and good night.